in this lecture we'll take a look at the paragraphs, how to modify them, how to do some low spacing, just the basic stuff that is quite useful. Okay, so let's get started, and for this low example I have a couple of paragraphs from one of my articles. Just a few pieces, just so we have some paragraphs to work with. Okay, so first of all, whatever you have to do with a paragraph, you'll find in the paragraph section in the home tab. Okay, in the home tab you'll find the paragraph section, and just a few basic things at first. If I highlight this whole paragraph like that, I can select the alignments from here. I can do it center like that, or I can justify it, for example. You see now it's justified. But I'm just gonna get back to the right. We don't really need that. Okay, so it's now on the right, and as you can see, you can do it quite quickly. Now, a few more things before we begin. If you do need some line spacing, you don't really care about any specifics, you can simply go on this one and choose the line spacing that you want. Okay, like that. You see, you hover on that and it changes. If you just need a low space, it really doesn't matter. You just pick one of them and save a bit of time. What you can also do with a paragraph is actually color it or highlight it in a way. You see, I can select, say, for example, yellow, like that. Now it's going to be yellow. I'm just going to deselect that. No color. You see, no color would mean no color or default. You can also wrap it in a border. You see, we have, say, all borders. Now the text is wrapped in this little border. This may be particularly useful for documents, when you need to have some stamp lines, signature lines, stuff like that. Okay, there are other ways to do those signature lines. Okay, we'll see that later. But besides all that quick stuff in here, we can go into more detail in terms of paragraph. You see, you can get some more stuff with this little extension. It is actually an expansion. Okay, and this window pops up like that. Let's drag it to the middle, and we have first of all indents and spacing. Okay, indents and spacing. We will look at the indentation a bit later. Okay, but first the spacing. The spacing in this case is between paragraphs. Okay, it's between paragraphs. So you see, you have a little preview, and say I want a little margin from the top. Let's do 50, around 50 points. See, now if I click OK, it has moved. You see my selection. You see it has a little bit of a margin going. And if I get back to it, I can do the after. After would be after that paragraph. That's going to be 60. I click OK. And you see now we have a little spacing before and after. So it's important to tell the difference between them. Now, having said that, there are some other kinds of spacing, and that is between the lines. So you see, we have line spacing. We have spacing. Spacing would be for the whole paragraph, and then we have line spacing, which is between the lines. So in this case, this is a multiple. Okay, but normally you would want to do 1.5 lines. That's what people usually do. Okay, but again, if you have some standard document, if you do some exam especially, you do need to look out for those instructions. So whatever your school requires, your university, whatever it may be, you do need to look out for those instructions, because some people, some places, unfortunately, do care about these things which may not be that important. Okay, so this is the line spacing, 1.5 lines, and you see we get a little bit more space in here, unlike this one. Now let's get to the indentations, right? Like that. Let's go to the top, paragraph, like that. And then you see indentation, like that. If I do the left, it will create a little bit of a left margin for this particular paragraph. You see, let's do just a bit, just so we can actually see them too. You see, as a bit of a space, like that. If I just kind of zoom out a little, you can see it quite clearly. There's a little indentation like that. So these may be useful, these may not be useful. If you're writing some poetry, perhaps this might be quite suitable, but really it's probably not the standard issue. Let's go back, just take a look at the line and page breaks, okay? These things I would suggest to avoid. We have some pagination, keep lines together, page break before. These things should stay at default. And the reason I'm saying that is because once you get into that stuff, it can be quite difficult, and once you change something, it can be quite difficult to adjust it back to your default values, default selection. So do be careful about this line and page breaks, okay? So this is basically what we have for the paragraphs, and with that we will conclude this lecture.